I hadn't been out to the property in months. Life, work, bills, and the usual excuses piled up, and the little plot of land I'd bought just outside town sat quietly waiting for me. It wasn't much when I first signed the deed. Just a ragged stretch of grass, a couple of scraggly trees, and a view of the lake if you squinted in the right direction. But I liked the peace of it. I told myself that one day I'd put up a cabin, maybe a deck, a little fire pit where I could sip coffee in the mornings. That Saturday, I decided to drive out just to check on it. The dirt road was rougher than I remembered, kicking up clouds of dust behind my truck. The fields around me were the same as always. Unbothered, wild, half forgotten by time. I wasn't expecting much when I made the last turn, but my foot froze on the brake. Where my overgrown lot should have been was something out of a magazine. A massive, two-story mansion stood proudly against the orange glow of sunset. White stucco walls glistened, tall windows caught the dying light, and a black iron gate swung open as hauled the last of their equipment into trucks. The driveway was paved, the hedges freshly trimmed, and in the backyard, a glimmering swimming pool shimmered like liquid sapphire. I blinked, convinced I had taken a wrong turn. I pulled over and checked the numbers painted on the curbside stone marker. My stomach sank. The lot number was mine. I climbed out of the truck slowly, as though stepping into some surreal dream. The smell of fresh paint hung in the air, mingling with the sharp tang of chlorine drifting from the pool. Voices carried. Landscapers arguing in Spanish, construction workers shouting instructions, the buzz of a hedge trimmer. And then, lounging in a patio chair like a queen on her throne, sat a woman. She had the kind of presence you noticed instantly. Mid-40s, perfectly styled blonde bob, oversized sunglasses perched on her head, and a glass of white wine resting elegantly in her hand. A wide sun hat shaded her face, and a designer shawl draped over her shoulders. She looked less like someone supervising workers and more like someone starring in a lifestyle ad. I must have been staring, because she waved. "Hi there, neighbor," she called, her voice cheerful and dripping with the confidence of someone who had never been told no. "Isn't it gorgeous? Just finished last week." For a second, I thought maybe she was joking. Maybe she'd mistaken me for someone else. But my mouth finally worked. "Fierce, excuse me," I said, still gripping my truck door like I needed the support. This is my land." The woman tilted her head, laughed lightly, and adjusted her sunglasses. "Oh honey, no. You must be mistaken. This is our new home. We've been working on it for months." She gestured grandly to the towering house behind her, as though unveiling a prize. I stepped forward, my heart thudding louder with each footfall on the brand new stone walkway. "No, I bought this lot 6 months ago. I have the deed. The land is mine." Her smile faltered for a split second. But then she recovered with the kind of practiced charm that made me think she'd won more than a few PTA battles in her time. "Well, I'm not sure what you think you bought, but this is our property now. Maybe check with the county if you're confused." Check with the county. I wanted to laugh, but the shock of it all kept me rooted in place. My brain scrambled for logic. Someone had to be crazy, and I was terrified it might be me. But the lot number was right. My paperwork was in my glove box. This was my land. "Listen," I said, trying to steady my voice. "Know what I own. I have the documents. You can't just build a mansion here without me noticing." She shrugged, sipping her wine. "Well, apparently we did." The workers moved around us like ghosts, avoiding eye contact, pretending not to hear the rising tension. The pool pump hummed. Somewhere a hammer clinked against metal. But all I could hear was the pounding in my ears. I looked up at the house again. Marble steps. A chandelier visible, a massive glass window. French doors opening to the poolside. This wasn't just a house. It was a statement, and it had been planted right on my little patch of wilderness like a flag on conquered soil. The strangest realisation hit me. If this was really my land, then everything sitting on it belonged to me too. The house. The pool. The landscaping. All of it. My stomach twisted with disbelief. Was this real life? "I think you've made a very expensive mistake," I said, finally squaring my shoulders. Her laugh rang out again, brittle and sharp this time. Sweetie. The only mistake here is you thinking you own something that isn't yours. Why don't you head on back to town and save yourself the embarrassment?" She turned her face back to the sunset, as if the conversation were over. The sheer arrogance of it left me momentarily speechless. I backed toward my truck slowly, my eyes never leaving the gleaming mansion. In the fading light, it looked almost unreal, like something airbrushed into the landscape. A dream house, perfect in every detail. Except it was standing on my land. And if I was right, and I knew I was, the dream house didn't belong to her at all. It belonged to me. When I slid back into the truck, my hands were shaking. Not with fear, but with a wild, rising sense of disbelief mixed with something darker, something electric. I had come to check on a vacant lot. I was leaving with the knowledge that someone had just handed me $1 million mansion with a pool. And her name was Karen. 2 weeks later, I returned to the mansion. Not as a bystander gawking at an impossible mistake, but as the rightful owner, with proof clutched in my hand and a lawyer by my side. The driveway looked different this time. The construction trucks were gone, replaced by 2 shiny SUVs and a minivan, all lined neatly like trophies. The hedges were trimmed, flower beds bursting with blooms that hadn't been there before. Someone had been busy turning my property into their perfect suburban dream. I walked up the steps, the marble slick under my shoes, my heartbeat steady but heavy. My lawyer, a compact man with sharp eyes and a voice like sandpaper, carried a folder fat with documents, copies of deeds, county records, zoning approvals. He had been almost gleeful when I explained the situation to him. "This is salivate, you're over," he'd said. "She built on your land. It's all yours, ironclad." The front door opened before I could knock. Karen stood there, framed by the glow of a sparkling chandelier inside, her lips tight, her face pale but still holding on to that brittle mask of superiority. Her sunglasses were gone, her eyes darted nervously between me and my lawyer. "This is harassment," she snapped, voice high, pitched and quivering. "I told you before, this is my house, man. I spent over $1 million building it. You can't just walk in here and pretend it's yours." My lawyer didn't even flinch. He handed her a neat stack of papers as though presenting evidence in court. "Factually, that's exactly what we can do. This deed shows my client has owned this parcel of land for 6 months. Anything constructed on it, with or without his consent, legally belongs to him. That includes this mansion, the pool, and every decorative hedge out front." Her wine glass trembled in her hand. She hadn't even bothered to put it down before answering the door. She looked at the paperwork like it was poison. This isn't fair. We were told this was a vacant lot for sale. We bought it in good faith. That's a matter between you and your real estate agent," my lawyer said dryly. "But the land was never yours to build on. You constructed this house illegally. You can't keep it." It's my cries snapped to me, wide and furious. "You can't do this. You're stealing my dream. We've worked so hard for this." I let the silence stretch, the weight of her words hanging in the ornate foyer. My eyes drifted past her, taking in the marble floors polished to a mirror shine, the sweeping staircase that curled upward like something out of a movie, the tasteful art already hung on the walls. I couldn't resist a small smile. "I'm not stealing anything," I said calmly. "You built your dream on land you didn't own. That's not my fault. That's yours. And now it's mine." Karen's face went crimson. She slammed the wine glass down on a side table, the liquid sloshing dangerously close to the edge. "You can't possibly think you're going to win this. We'll fight you. We'll sue. My husband has money, connections. You'll regret this, by all means." My lawyer cut in, his smirk widening. "File whatever suits you want. The courts will laugh. Your husband's money won't change the fact that the county records are clear. You built a multi-million-dollar home on land you didn't own. Do you have any idea how badly that's going to play in front of a judge?" For a moment, Karen looked like she might actually cry. Her bravado cracked, and behind it, there was fear. Fear of losing everything she thought she had gained. Her hands clenched and unclenched at her sides, her shoulders trembling. Then she straightened, dragging the mask back on like a cloak. "We're not leaving," she said, her voice icy. "You can play your little legal games, but this is my family's home. My children live here. Where do you expect us to go? That's not my problem," I said evenly. "You should have asked those questions before pouring concrete on land that wasn't yours. As of today, this house, this pool, this property, they all belong to me. You're trespassing." Her gasp was sharp, like a knife cutting through the air. "Trespassing? How dare you?" But I was already stepping past her into the house, my lawyer close behind. She didn't stop me. She couldn't. My shoes echoed across the marble as I moved deeper inside, taking it all in: vaulted ceilings, a crystal chandelier that must have cost more than my truck, a chef's kitchen with granite counters gleaming under recessed lights. It was breathtaking. And it was mine. Behind me, Karen sputtered, threatening police calls and lawsuits, but her voice had lost some of its strength. She knew it was slipping away. Every word from my lawyer drove another nail into her coffin of denial. Within weeks, the legal process played out exactly as he had promised. Karen and her family were served with notices. They fought, of course. They filed motions, claimed misunderstandings, even tried to paint me as some opportunistic villain. But the law was merciless. The county records were black and white, undeniable. The house sat squarely on my deeded land. The day they finally moved out up Driving driveway again, a moving truck was parked out front, its doors yawning open as men carried boxes down the steps. Karen stood near the gate, arms folded, her face pinched with fury. She didn't say a word to me, but the glare she gave could have cut glass. I didn't return it. I didn't need to. Instead, I walked past her without acknowledgement, crossed the threshold into the mansion, and let the silence wash over me. The chandeliers glittered above me, the air faintly scented with new wood and paint. Every corner of the house was pristine, untouched by the chaos that had birthed it. When the movers finally drove away and the gate clanged shut behind them, I stood alone in the vast foyer. My house, my pool, my property. I wandered out back, the late afternoon sun glinting off the still surface of the water. I slipped off my shoes, sat on the edge, and dipped my feet into the cool blue depths. The sensation sent a thrill through me. Relief, victory, disbelief all tangled together. I raised the glass of wine I had poured from the fully stocked fridge inside and looked at the shimmering water. "Here's Karen," I murmured, letting the words echo across the empty patio. "Best free house ever." And then I leaned back, closed my eyes, and let myself smile.